friends that are doing it fine. God bless you, 'cause you're doing fine. At the end of the day, don't forget about me. As days turn to weeks, and weeks turn to years, oh, I feel for my brother. And as time passes by, I see you're not satisfied. Oh, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother. The street life used to be on, straight up hustling till the break of dawn. Taught me how to do wrong right, everything inside. But somehow things started to change. Try to get us straight up out of the game. You couldn't see what I saw. The empire was starting to fall.
Hey, we're here. Black Reality Unscripted. I'm glad that you guys are tuned in today. As you guys can see, I have a co-host next to me today, a special guest, my god brother, Mr. Ezra P. Scott Jr. What's going on, E?
What's going on, everybody? How y'all feeling today? It's a pleasure to be on the
Absolutely,
show.
absolutely.
My guy Nick over here.
Yes, sir. And then we have on the other side of the screen with probably the coolest background that you ever seen, Mr. Nicholas Felix. Come on, young.
What's going on? How y'all doing out there?
Young.
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, we are flowing here today. Listen, there's a lot that's been going on in Niagara Falls, and it's obvious for those of us who live here in the city. The temperature and the climate really has changed physically, and a lot of the tension that has been going on concerning a lot of the killings and homicides. From what I hear, we're number 6. Is that correct? Out of the 14, I believe, per capita in the States. So that right there, one, is nuts. What's your take on it, E, man? How you? What's your thoughts on that, man?
I mean, it's amazing, just to hear, the fact that we're number 6 in the country, right? Nation.
Yeah.
You're hearing, close to places like Chicago, who have been coined, as far as Chirac. You hear people saying Nirac now.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't want to hear that. I remember, when I was younger, reflecting on the city of Niagara Falls, whenever I used to travel, be different places, people used to ask, like, where you from? I'm from Niagara Falls. They said, oh, you from under the water? Is there even people there? Right. People used to always constantly talk about how peaceful and just there was no, type of crime there. And, of course, when you're young and immature, you want to make, you want to seem like you're a little tough guy, right? But it's just it's unfortunate because now I'm looking at Niagara Falls, I'm seeing everything that's going on, and it's like really you can't say that no more. You can't say that Niagara Falls is just this little sweet place with nothing that happens as far as crime or violence, and it's definitely been a deterioration here. You look at what are some of the factors, and again, I think a lot of people talk about the youth, and I think that's the biggest thing right there. As far as the amount of activities that are here for our youth. To keep them engaged and to keep them busy. Idle time is definitely the devil's workshop, and that's the core thing that we have to figure out. How to engage our youth, get them educated. The education leads to workforce development. So these young people can be equipped, and also our adults can be equipped for the opportunities, making living wages. So where people ain't just running around. So it's just so much. It's a plethora of issues. But, I mean, I just say that all to say, Niagara Falls definitely isn't the place that I remember growing up as a little kid.
Absolutely, man. Nick, tell us how you feel, my good brother.
Man, it's just, it's a little surreal. It's like, I can't believe this is what, like, our city has come to be. Like, we, at one time, I mean, we still are, one of the 7th wonders of the world, but when you get people that come from out of town and they come to your city, it's like, what's here to do? And it's like nothing. Mm-hmm. Go to the falls, go to the mall, go to the movies. I mean, these are like our big things. And it's sad.
Very.
It's real sad. And I feel for these kids, I feel, the pain on this, like, okay, like, what is it to do? What exactly is it to do? It's nothing to do out here. It's shocking to hear that we're number 6 on the list. of one of the highest crime rates in the nation.
Yeah.
Per capita, and that's kind of how that's all looked up, or that's how it's all kind of categorized as per capita, like how many people is in your city.
Right.
And it's unreal.
And it's sad, man.
Yeah.
And the true story is like, it's so many different factors. You know what I mean? And we're going to go back into the title that I titled the show a couple of weeks ago about community accountability. I like to be a person of balance. You know what I mean? I like to be a person that, accountability has to be taken on all different realms. You know what I mean? And so when it comes down to our people in our community, the black, brown, a lot of it is impoverished. I mean, so really, poverty being broke ain't got a color to it. Real talk, you know what I mean? It's the have and the have-nots. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So a lot of the stuff that's happening is for the most part in the have-nots portions of the community.
Right.
How do we begin? And it's more so a conversation, but it has to be a conversation leading to some type of movement. Where do we start? Which one of y'all want to pipe in on that?
I think, well, first off, again, I'm glad that you acknowledged that it's not a color. I think, if you go back 50, 100 years ago or so, you could have definitely, spoke about color. And it is a relevant issue. I'm not dismissing that. But as time continues to go on, society is really ran by a dollar, and that's really what creates a lot of the issues, that are taking place. And, I listen to, some individuals that talk about, we always talk about community, wanting to change community. We have to understand the difference of community and neighborhoods. Neighborhoods is a geographical infrastructure. Community is people that are like-minded people. And I think we have to begin to find those like-minded people, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, whatever you are. And we have to create an agenda, a citywide or community-based agenda of people who are really like-minded that want to see a lot of these gun issues, the violence that's taking place, and to find an agenda of the top 3 issues that we want to work on, Again, in Niagara Falls, there's so many different things to where sometimes you could become overwhelmed because you're trying to put this fire out. Next thing you know, you're trying to put this out, and you lose focus on some of the most relevant things, which are the root.
Right.
But I think we need to really come together and figure out an agenda of 3 things that we really want to work on as a community of like-minded people, and focused on those things and begin to build from there.
Nick, give us your thoughts.
I feel the same way. I mean, I honestly think we as just a community of, like Ezra said, like-minded people, we all need to get together and come up with some things that will push our community in a certain place where we want it. So the days of the days of politics and all of that running the show as we currently see, it's not really doing too much. We're basically creating our own insanity, and the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same things and expect a different outcome, and that's not what's happening. And it's just, we need to step up and we need to do it. For the longest, I was one of the persons that I just sit back on Facebook, blah, 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 talk my mess, But I start to see, the violence just keeps creeping closer and closer and closer and closer to me. And I'd rather cut it off at the pass than let it come in my house, So I think that we need to have an open dialogue with the community, and I think that, we need to get leaders within the community to step forward and be held accountable. I think a lot of, the persons that we have, like a lot of the clergy members, a lot of local politicians need to step up and be accounted for.
Absolutely.
They have to. I'm
I'm gonna tag in on that because, clergy and our politicians and those who are considered, and I keep saying it, those who are considered influencers,
Right.
those who are influencers within the community. I have a special show that I'm setting up for next week. And I'll put all of that out a little later. That's actually going to be very interesting. But we're just trying to bridge these gaps, man, and trying to, connect people from law enforcement, from, the politicians who, make these legislations and, write these resolutions that's going to affect all of us. This man right here, Ezra Scott, he understood 4 years of that. You know what I mean? He knows how he got me hooked to the fact that, how important it is to be involved in that, in that process. You know what I mean?
If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
On the menu. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So,
Ezra, I had asked you a question before. Like, what was one of the key things through your term in office that you seen that you were like, really?
She's at the door.
Like,
Right here.
this is really happening? Like, what are some things that actually you think that the community could have improved on to maybe make it better, or any missed opportunities that we missed that we should have been like front and center right there, ready to go? Was there anything in particular?
I'll say this. I think one of the biggest things that come to my mind is that we didn't really vote on, in the city council, but just really learn the history of the city of Niagara Falls. I'll talk about the reassessment. I think that was one of the things that really opened my eyes as far as the lack of participation amongst community. There was a reassessment that was done maybe I think about 14 years ago. If you look at the property values in the city of Niagara Falls, you will see that, if you're looking downtown at many of the areas downtown, those houses have been reassessed. They're close to the value of what their full market is, right, as far as when you look at the assessed rate. But then when you look at a lot of the properties out in Cayuga Island, the Lake Sale area, and even the Vaux, you'll notice that these properties are not reassessed or assessed at the true value that they hold, right? So they may be assessed at maybe $80,000, whereas the market value they're selling for about $200,000. So the individuals, the residents, they're not paying the true taxes on that property, right? So I bring that up to say just really realizing how sleep sometimes our communities are, and sleep on so many other issues that take place in the city of Niagara Falls. So I see these residents that do live in Lake Sale, they do live in the Cayuga Island and the DeVoe areas. These residents are very awake. They're seeing what's going on. So what happened years ago when they were doing an assessment and they had started it downtown, and then they were about to begin to start to slowly start going out to these other areas, those residents got together. They sent the emails out to the politicians, the mayor, city councilmen, to the legislators. They came, they protested, and guess what happened? The whole citywide assessment stopped, deceased. And that right there really showed me the difference in how you have communities that are not involved and are not paying attention and not understanding, right? Because a lot of people talk about, I don't want to get involved in politics, right? But how can you not? Because guess what? That reassessment just impacted your pockets.
Yes,
but people don't understand
that
right?
mortgage payment that you got to pay now. So when you was paying $550 and now you paying $800, that's why, because your property's now been reassessed and you didn't put no impact or no input into anything that's happened regarding the cause of that. You didn't come to any council meetings, you go to any legislative meetings, you didn't protest or look into anything. You're just like, oh, okay.
Right.
Like that's, you can't be complacent. We can't be that way because, as you seen, just like you said, that's what it affected.
Yep.
We got a caller on the line. Black Reality Unscripted. What you got for us?
What's up? This is Marv, man. How you guys doing today?
Mr. Crittenden. What's going on, Mr. Marv?
What's going on, my guy?
I'm good, man. I wanted to call in about what Ezra was saying about the assessment and how that relates to the community. I actually totally agree with him. But I think what happens here is a lot of people don't own property. In these impoverished communities in Niagara Falls, so they don't have much to lose, essentially, when it comes to something like that. So you won't be as invested in a property assessment because technically they think it won't affect them. even though it could affect their rent. They had the assessment went the other way, where they was like, we're going to raise the assessment for everybody. And then now the landlord got to pay more taxes. He going to be like, well, I got to raise the rent. Yep. So when it goes down the other way, it's like, oh, okay, this doesn't bother me. This doesn't affect my day-to-day pockets. That's one thing. But when it goes up, that's a whole different ballgame of how it affects people. So I think with people not investing in the community, they don't see it as they have anything to lose. So crime doesn't affect them because they don't own any property. And if the property values go down, their rent doesn't change. The school system doesn't really affect them because they look at it as all I got to do is get through. Once I get through, I can go live my life out where I see affected properly. So it's an investment thing in the community where the residents have to invest into their own community. Buy your house. You know what I mean? If you've been renting from your landlord for 15 years, maybe you should be looking to see if he's willing or she's willing to do some type of rent-to-own program. Or, hey, are you willing to sell? I know you probably tired of collecting rent or tired of me calling you to fix this water heater. Are you willing to sell kind of thing? And I just think it's a lack of interest for people. And for the most part, we've been trying to make it see better. I see a lot of people always saying every time a crime happens, it's time for me to move. I'm just like, well, I don't think moving is going to save you. You know what I mean? It's not like we got the highest crime rate in America. Right. It's bad. Don't get me wrong, per capita. Right. But, you go into one of these southern states or whatever the case may be, it can be a lot worse. So I think it's just a lack of investment on the residents' part. You know what I mean? We can sit here and talk about the city officials all day, but if you're not even willing to invest in your own neighborhood, your own house, your own household, the likelihood of you willing to even invest into the rest of the city in the form of a politician or a city councilman or whatever the case may be is slim to none. You know what I mean? Because we see the numbers from these elections. They be like 2,000 people voted.
That's it.
2,000 people voted. Like, come on, man.
I don't even think the 2,000. I think the number that I seen was like the general election for local government is like almost like 1,300 people. And they were getting ready for 1,900 people, so they were only expecting like another 600 people to vote. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then
one neighborhood can change that. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like you were kind of talking about as far as I think the biggest thing is really about people really beginning to understand politics. And just the whole importance of civic engagement, because a lot of times they don't understand how these decisions end up impacting them. Maybe not directly, but indirectly. Just like you was touching on, Marv, you was saying a lot of them may not own homes, so they may not think about the fact of the amount of taxes that's going to rise up, but yet your rent is going to rise up, right? And the same thing with just something as recent that I know many of us have been understanding, the user fee. Yep. Right?
I was just about to say that.
The residents themselves may not have been paying that. They may not be paying that user fee, right? They may not be going down to City Hall and paying that user fee, but guess what? Once that user fee got implemented, that landlord, he pumped up their rent.
Definitely get your rent raised.
Yeah. Right. So, just really, I think it's really about, I don't know if you want to call it a politics 101 or just really teaching people about how city government especially, because the ignorance that so many people have, and when I say ignorance, I'm just talking about that lack of understanding. People think about voting, they only think about presidential elections. They don't really often think about local government, which really are the decisions that impact us the most, right? Indirectly. So we have to really begin to understand the whole political landscape, understanding who your city councilman is, understanding who your school board members are, and all these other different pieces to the puzzle.
Yo, Marv, while we got you on the line, man, listen, we've been talking about, community accountability, right? And we all understand what's been going on with all these homicides and stuff that's been going on. And you have a lot of people that's like, man, they ain't no snitch. I'm not, I ain't saying nothing and so on and so forth. And of course, we know that right there, of course, messes up a whole lot. Like, you know what I mean? And a lot of people don't want to talk about nothing until it hit home first. Tell me what's your take on community, like our accountability as far as community is concerned, as it pertains to our current events here in the city of Niagara Falls.
I mean, our accountability is absolutely atrocious. And to speak in candor and not to speak ill of the dead or anything like that or disrespect any of the dead family, a lot of times you would see people say, hey, I'm not a snitch, I'm not a snitch. then I literally seen this. Then when it happened to their family member, they're asking people to report the information to the cops.
Right.
So I'm like,
That's not how it
what
works.
side are you on? It
not
don't
how it
work
works.
that way. Like it shouldn't take for it to hit your household or to hit your family for you to, at the snap of a finger, change your decision. That tells me you never were really invested into the not snitching. You just didn't care enough to give the information.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when as soon as you hit their family,
Right.
yeah, I've seen this, like personally saw this. Like I've literally seen when somebody died, oh, y'all shouldn't be out here talking to the cops, da 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 da. They family member died, boom. Now it's, hey, here's the number to the Niagara Falls investigators or detective, whatever the case may be. You do a whole 180, and I'm just like, that's the problem right there.
Right.
Like you literally are promoting the not snitching thing until it hits your household. Now all of a sudden you asking people to do something you just told them not to do.
Right.
And a lot of people do that. That's a habit.
And see, this whole snitching thing is like if you live that life, if you in the streets, you live that life, you about that type of lifestyle.
Teach 'em.
That's where that snitching thing comes through. If you're
Correct.
a regular citizen, if you're a law-abiding citizen, you do it. You know, you mind your own business. You pay your taxes. You take care of your kids. That's not snitching.
No, it's
That's
protecting your
helping out
family.
that's helping out a family member. That's helping out, that's helping out your community. That's helping out your neighborhood.
Too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
anybody telling you go write a statement and testify?
Yeah. Nah, I'm not. Listen, I pay my taxes. If somebody on my street, something happened to somebody on my street, and I had the ability to help out and find out what happened, I'm gonna let them know. Like I told y'all before, that young lady that got killed in the house, 4 houses down from me. I got security cameras all over the place.
Right.
I share all whatever you need, officer. Here you go, no problem. Cause that's crazy. Because I had came home at 3:30 in the morning. That easily could have been my wife.
Right.
That could have been me. Well, it wasn't gonna be me because you was gonna have to fight. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you want this? You gonna have to. I'm gonna give you a run for your money.
Right.
I'm gonna give you a run for your money. But we have to get out of that mentality that we snitching on. It's got nothing to do about that. It's solely about humanity, helping out somebody else.
How many homicides were women this year?
You know what I'm saying?
I know 3 personally. Mariah, the young lady you're talking about.
Yep.
Shakia that just got killed in Center Court.
Yep.
And then when I can't think of his name, but him and his mom got killed.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up catching that guy in Ohio.
I'll tell you something
that's
about
3
that.
different women in general.
There's been 14 homicides, 9 which are shootings.
Yeah.
14 homicides.
And
this year.
that one that happened where that mother and son got killed, that happened right next door to my son's house where my ex-wife and my sons live. Like,
that is crazy.
Literally, like with nothing but the grace of God, because a bullet could have easily came through and hit one of them.
Right.
It literally lived right next door. Like,
and now they had a daughter and
see
sister.
this?
And it's really a citywide thing because more and more you're seeing a lot of these shootings take place out in Lake Sale now as well.
Right.
72nd, 77th Street, areas that I'm like, I'm shocked at. I'm like, okay, like these issues are really happening. So, I gotta commend Jill Shaw for her efforts. I know a lot of people are criticizing her, but I mean, this is where it starts. It's definitely a start.
People
in the right
criticize her?
direction.
Man, let me
Absolutely.
tell you something.
Absolutely.
People have, and that's the thing about our city here, man. And it be all of the naysayers that's like, I call them the armchair quarterbacks that's doing like that. They're not willing to step out and do nothing, but we become thumb thugs on Facebook. You know what I mean? We talk about, well, this ain't gonna work, or you think this is gonna do this, and so on and so forth. And then nobody, at the end of the day, we have to get up and do something. We got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? And I think that's the part that, we applaud Jill, you know what I mean, for standing up and stepping out, man. That's us here at Black Reality Unscripted, shooting a line of applause to Jill for that stand up.
It's not just the murder she's complaining about. It's people getting shot at that was getting shot at that red house all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, they about to turn that to 3Ms at this point. And we all know how 3Ms was in the 90s and early 2000s. And what, what I mean? 3Ms closed The last time it was open, somebody died in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Franchise.
Uh-huh.
Wallace died there. Right. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, yo. I don't understand what they want. You think your fun is worth everyone else's safety? It's a way to have safe fun. You know what I mean? I don't hear about shootings on Chippewa or Allen. You know what I mean? I don't hear about that. So it's just like, it's ways to be safe and have fun. But you got that much violence.
But you say it's some shooting out there, but they ain't.
I said, I've been shot out there. You ain't hear about it. So they just don't, they just don't show it on TV.
Yeah, they ain't showing that one. But they just running the stories in Niagara Falls. It's getting worse. But the kids are getting younger. The victims are. You know what I mean? These victims are 22, 23, 24, 26. I think all of us are 30 plus. You know what I mean? So it's not like we getting killed. These children getting killed. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's getting ridiculous.
Well, Marv, man, thank you for calling in, good brother.
Absolutely, man.
Hey, feel free to call in anytime, man. You welcome here, man. I'm gonna have you on here one of these days, good bro.
Man.
Hey, you'll bring me right in, man.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Hey, I would like to give a shout out to one of my co-hosts. She's running a little late today, but we gonna give her a pass.
She here though.
You know what I'm saying? But she here.
Like
you know what I mean? So I'm glad that we give a shout out to Kayla Briggs. What's up, Kayla?
Hi guys.
Hey, what's
this
going
is a
on?
very secure building, so don't worry about it. You know, you don't get in unless someone lets you.
Yeah, you better believe it.
So-
Ain't no joke.
And again, shout out to Kayla too. Single mother. I mean, unless you dating, you with somebody I don't know about yet. I don't know. But I mean, I'm gonna say single mother. That's
But like, I'm not dating anyone.
Hey, we put the plug out there for it, right?
Right.
But
Stop about to go all the way
Inbox
up.
about to be
Yeah,
blazing.
watch it.
But shout out to her, man. Single mother, 2 children, holding it down, man.
Absolutely.
She out here active and doing things, man. So salute to you.
Sweet deal.
and your work.
Sweet deal, okay. Glad you made it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm at the door. Like, I don't want to knock.
So yeah, let's talk about this gun buyback. Now here we had the event, Jill linked up with Yowawa Media, with our great, I'll call him our Wizard of Oz, Mr. Peter Green, the one and only.
The man behind the curtain.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, Barb.
Hey, hold on, wait. Oh, and Ohio Barb,
Right.
the lovely Ohio Barb.
Right. She's the woman behind the curtain.
The woman behind the curtain.
Right.
I would love to know the meaning behind that name. That's what I would love to know. Is that something you can explain on air, or is that something off air we got to talk about?
If we tell you, we're gonna have to kill you.
Have to kill me? Gotta do some research.
Yeah, we gonna, you're gonna have to search. That's gonna be one of those.
Call my people.
But yeah, Jill, she hooked up with Yowawa and hooked up with the peacemakers, not peacekeepers. For those of you who,
Who is that, man?
yeah, I never met them either.
Never heard of them. I don't know a peacekeeper.
Never seen them.
Never seen them. Never seen. Not here in Niagara Falls.
Right.
And she set up this buyback, and I'm putting a line out there because people need to hear this today. And this buyback, that's different. The difference from this buyback and other gun buybacks is that the price. Other municipalities, other cities, they did buybacks and they'll give you like $100, $150 gift certificate, gift card or something like that, or and what we're looking at here at this one is for these street guns, and there's going to be a detail of these different guns. You're not gonna bring the baby ping buckshot rusted out, you know what I mean?
The shotguns or the 22s that granddad had. We want them hand cannons.
Right,
That's what we want.
right. The ones that you can,
some semi-auto.
right. And each one of those that we collect, or that the police, let me just rephrase that because it's going to be done by our law enforcement. Each one of those guns that are collected, there will be a $500, payout. You know what I mean? And I believe that's an initiative enough to pull some of these. It's not going to pull every gun off the street. Let's call every illegal gun off the street. We get that. However, if we can get a few guns, if not, and her mission is to raise 20,000. And I'm saying this personally, for me, like if we're gonna continue to complain, let's put our money where our mouth is. You know what I mean? And we did a 4-hour, telethon last night, and the GoFundMe page went up $50. It went up $50, and guess who gave that $50? Now, hold on, let me go back.
About that?
It's crazy. I gave the $50 to push it from 450 to 500, right? And people came in. People came in and made donations. So Tim Huther, he came through. Ezra came through. The police, actually, and let me shout out the police. The police came through, brought pizza, bro, and money. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody.
You know what I'm saying?
Give a salute to Assemblyman Morinello.
Assembly,
put in $100.
Y'all hear that?
Absolutely.
Assembly Morinello, my man Nick, he came and watch this. He was one of the first cats to give, right? Give a donation, and then came back and gave another donation. You know what I'm saying? Let me give a shout out to Mr. Clyde. What's his last name? Coleman. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He came through. Not only did he come through, but he dropped $100 on it. You know what I'm saying?
Isn't that the son of
the father of the his son got killed. He
big,
came
man.
and he said, and that was huge, man. For him to be able, and he shared his story. I encourage anybody who watching right now, check out, go to your Wawa Media and check out, was it the Edge of the Falls? I believe that we went through.
Yeah.
Check that out and watch, man. These stories. It was a young man. His father got killed trying to protect them from. You know what I mean? They were in the car and he actually got shot and killed. His son was there, and telling their story. The Coleman family, the mother and the father, they was telling their story. The wife of the young man that passed. Like, it's a lot of people that's affected, right? Now, here's my thing. We complain a lot, man. I'm on Facebook. Y'all, I see everybody, and people like, oh yeah, there's these guns and there's guns. But then I'm looking at this GoFundMe page for something that's so righteous as this gun buyback. You know what I mean? That could have a real effect. And cats ain't really put that money where their mouth is. It was Friday too, so stop acting like y'all ain't get paid.
Just got paid.
Just got paid,
Just
right?
went to the ATM machine.
Right. And watch this. They ain't even got to do that. All they had to do was go to the GoFundMe page.
Right.
Cash App.
Cash App,
Yeah, all them
anything,
Cash App
man.
scams y'all do, y'all couldn't slide us $10.
Right. Come on.
Come on, man. I get about 2 or 3 Cash App scams things coming through my inbox. So I'm just like, man, come on.
Right. Kayla,
Slide me $200.
As a young woman, and like, again, like, it takes a lot, you know what I'm saying? Jill, she's a young lady, you know what I'm saying? She's standing out.
Just
right.
I did come there. So
we must have been, we was on the inside.
I was on the outside.
Yeah, there she go.
In. But no, I did come there and actually talk with her. And when she was talking to the police officers when they first came, I was standing right behind her. She asked me who baby I was. I'm like, I'm a grown up.
Baby.
No.
That's a compliment, though.
Right.
So no, I think what she's doing is a really, really great thing. But I was not Bud. I was just thinking, like, as far as someone who is a little afraid and intimidated, I don't like. It's safe that the police are doing it. So my question just was, like, okay, when they come, they handle the gun and stuff like that. But say somebody really wanted to, and they was like intimidated by like not knowing what the process is, and they have a familiar face. You get what I'm saying? Like, they might have been in a lot of trouble, and they like, okay, I just need. They want to take that step forward or whatnot, but the police know them. You get what I'm saying? Like, how would you handle that situation, especially with seeing the 2 cop cars there? I was kind of like, is everything okay? Like, when I pulled up, like not knowing what the return policy or what the process really was. So
that wasn't that. Well, that wasn't the actual gun buyback.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, I just didn't know. But I'm just saying, as far as like how would. So that's the thing. I don't know anything about it. So what is she was talking about it, and I had misinformation. I thought that was the first part of it. But just knowing like somebody who might want to take that next step, and like I said, might have a familiar face. So how would that like really work?
So here's what it is.
Not to say but.
Yeah. So what it is basically. What we're doing now is we're collecting funds.
Just collecting the funds.
Just solely collecting funds.
Okay.
It's all going to be handled through our local law enforcement. and amnesty is there. So what has to happen is these guns are not going to be traced to try to, be connected to anything. It's just like we have to get them off the streets. Right. You know what I'm saying? And there's a $500 payout for each, and it's like, again, not the ping rusted out jump offs, right. But real street guns. You know what I mean? Just to get them off the street. And so because there's going to be a no question asked policy, you know what I mean? They don't have anything to worry about. You know what I mean? And it's like some people were like, oh well, you're taking away. Here's the thing, what's the probability of these guns? I mean, if you're talking about murders and stuff like that, a lot of these guns that may be coming in be from something that a body that's been like 15, 20 years, and they're having ain't nobody been
sitting on it. They've been sitting on. They've been sitting on it like, man, I don't know what to, whatever. Hey, but I do, I'm sure if anybody, I don't know if y'all want to do this, but if anybody is interested in dropping off the guns and they don't want to deal with all of that, but you still want to get your money, I mean, you can always hit me up. You know what I'm saying? Hit me up, be like, yo, I got something for you. Just make sure I get my money. I'm cool with that.
Right.
I'm cool with that. If you don't want nothing to do with it, you don't want to have your face out there, no questions asked. Anybody know me? I'm not into all of that. Right. So,
that's solid.
If anybody has a gun or anything like that, you don't want to be involved. You still want to get your cash. Holla at me. I'll come get your stuff.
Right, because it's just the importance of that. Like I said, I was able to talk to her. Well, she talked to me, and I just listened. But I was able to talk to her, and like I said, it is a great program. And like you said, it's the first step forward. So maybe not this time, but to know that that's something that we could do reoccurring and reassure people that, like, every choice you make can have a better outcome, or whatnot. So I think it's a great thing, regardless of what people might think of it. It's like you said, it's a start. Like.
Well, absolutely. I
mean, I think that's something that we should definitely echo off too. When there's another fundraiser, I'm sure there's gonna be another. But what Nick was saying, as far as being that liaison, that
mediator.
I know the peacemakers. For sure, we would be willing to play that role.
Absolutely,
that person for anybody that feels uncomfortable. So definitely.
So no, I think that's great.
Hey, so I have a question. For all of us. We can all chime in on it. So a lot of the stuff, we talk about street violence and whatnot. What do you guys think of as it pertains to the streets, patrolling the streets? And I guess I'm gonna kind of like
go.
Pretty much, or give you guys actually a heads up of what next week is gonna look like. Okay, all of my co-hosts, I'm gonna give all the co-hosts a break next week. I have some people I'm gonna put it on the flyer. You guys can start going word of mouth. Rasheen, Rara, Fats, Tommy Sanders. Mimi, Demetrius Nix, Rico, Tellum, and Darrell Westbrook. I'm a real tongue twist.
So they all gonna be on here.
They're all gonna be here next week, all together.
Shout out to Autumn.
Absolutely, you know what I mean.
That's a phenomenal setup.
Yeah, and see what happens, because my thing is this: I believe that. These are people who are influencers. Yeah. And these are people, and they all agreed. They all, they were super cool about it, and I love it, man. And they're all in for it. And these people have, their own detailed experience with the streets. Mm-hmm. Some had to do that time, you know what I mean? And then they came out, and now they're doing their thing, man. I mean, shout out. Fats, man, he has his clothing line and he has his workout program that he got going on. You know what I mean? Darrell, he's doing his music thing and everything. So along with Rico,
magazine.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You got Right. He out here. He got Authentic and his clothing line, and he working. And these working men. Demetrius Nix, he got his own He's doing the construction. You know what I mean? And watch this. And he hiring people. You know what I'm saying? To help fix up some of these buildings that he bought. You know, so that's called being a solution. Because if you ain't a part of the solution, you're what? Part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? So that's an insight. So for those who don't know, you know what I mean? That's what's going to be coming up next week. How do y'all feel about, you know, because I believe that, you know, that these are voices, and there are a whole lot more voices. Let me just put that out there. There are a lot more voices that and I'm very open and welcome to having them come here and, you know, speak to these young people. You know what I mean? Let them know that, hey, it's another way to this. You know what I mean? To this money. You know what I mean? So how y'all feel about Tell me how you feel about that, bro.
I definitely, you know, applaud the effort. So the streets, I mean, sometimes it when it takes to really understanding how criminals think, it takes a criminal sometimes. So,
Right.
That's what I would say. So, you know, as you just mentioned, you may have some of these people who are reformed, who have their history as far as certain things that they were involved in. Salute to them for definitely turning their lifestyles around. But with them changing their lifestyles around, they still have a lot of respect out here in the community and the streets.
Right.
It carries a lot of weight. And it's definitely positive to have them all tapped in and bringing all their following together.
Right.
So I definitely think it's a great effort to bring it all, man. And whatever I can do to support it, I'm definitely around.
Appreciate it. Nick.
Man, I think, you know, we have to take back our streets.
That's it.
Period.
That's it.
We can't sit around here and wait for the cops to show up, because half of the time they don't show up, or take them an hour and a half to get here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now with the new laws, it's like, really, what they gonna do? You know, there's so many things now that you can't even get arrested for. It's just outrageous.
The hands kind of tied, real. You know what I mean?
So like you get arrested, you out the same day because they just hold you. Like,
you're gonna get an appearance ticket.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So you know, us as people of the community, and more specifically speaking to the black men in the community, black men, you know, whatever color you are, it doesn't even matter. Mm-hmm. We have to start standing up and start patrolling our own.
That's it.
We have to make sure, first off, that our house is good. Second off, that our neighborhood is good. Because at the end of the day, these are the people that see you every day. Your neighbor is going to probably see you coming and going, you know, more than anybody's going to see you coming and going. So you need to start watching what you see around your own neighborhood and making sure that you know what I'm saying, are attentive to that.
And when we talk, especially like we just had it was a meeting today at Christ's Redemption concerning police, trying to get more black police on the force and whatnot. And a question that had arose from one of the officers was why, and it kind of took me spent me a little bit, because I'm like, hold on, what do you mean? Like, yeah,
why? What?
So basically, he was saying, well, I hear you guys are saying, you know, we need more black officers on the force, and my question to you is why? And this was a black police officer.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
why not?
Right. And another one of the officers who don't really have that great of a reputation, Drew claimed that they were in the community, and I'm not gonna go deep into it, but what I will say is, it's a difference between being at something and in something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, you can be at a basketball game, or if you're in the game, you're playing, you're a part of, you're working in that, you know, in what the game is.
Right.
Being at something, you're just there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's some good officers that are engaged, and I think that's probably one of the main things and the main messages that I always try to put out to the police officers is you have to engage, especially these young cats, to the point where they should feel like you're their big cousin.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Or the big homie.
The big homie where I can trust to talk to you. Exactly. But if you come in and your chest is poked out, you know, and you're coming in like you're, you know, RoboCop, you know, what's gonna happen is that's the look you're gonna get.
Right.
You're gonna get pushback.
Get that pushback.
You know what I mean? But I find it, and again, there has to be a level of engagement. You have to know the community in which you're supposed to be serving and protecting. That's what you signed up for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Protect and serve.
So, Kayla, especially now, what is your experience? Have you seen? You know what I mean? You may have not had any personal contact with the police, but have you ever been in a situation where you actually seen a little bit of over aggression from a police officer to a citizen?
I wouldn't say I don't know, I just feel like I'm just watchful, but as far as the thing as like being like our community as a kid, I grew up in Virginia. Well, I've been here for a long time, but I remember like when they had the DARE program. So I lived in VA. So the police used to, and I lived in the projects in Virginia, and it's rough. I lived in Newport News, but they used to patrol, but they will come and take the kids for a ride, but not like, in like a negative way, but they would give out, coupons, but we knew who all of our police officers were, and it was like a positive thing. When we seen them, it wasn't so much that somebody was in trouble, but like, oh, this is when they come visit us, so I feel like
and they used to do that,
right? So I feel like as I got like older, and I've been here for almost 20 years, I feel that I don't really know who the police officers are, except for I do know some from my class or the class after me from high school that I know a few people who are police officers. But it's really about representation. And not only that, but I feel like when you get in a job, you learn the laws of the land. You know what I'm saying? To be a police officer, you learn like basically how it'll work for your community, the laws that are for you and kind of against you. So I think it's just really about representation. So if he says why, even if he was a black officer, it's about representation and being like, what you learn, you'll be able to share with your community. Like, this is a law. Like, a lot of things we don't know because we don't have the information on it. Like, what's the laws? Granted, like you don't do certain things, but to know really the legalities of everything. So it's really about representation. So I haven't really seen anyone, had a negative experience. Well, I have when I was a teenager. I have a twin brother. And, they used to have the football games. And they would harass the little black kids at the football games. Remember when we used to have the high school football games?
Yeah.
And they got arrested. Wow. You know what I mean? And that was before you really were like, oh, don't say anything. But they were asking questions, and it basically was just like, shut up and do what I say, But it was positive, and they weren't really so much, hurting them at that time when I was like 15, 16. But it was like kind of like why, like, I don't know. It was just it was a negative experience. But otherwise than that, it's really about representation and knowing who are the police, I guess.
So watch this. Celestine Booz, and that's a shout out to her. She spent 20 years in 1 week as worked in the in the field. She was a detective. Yeah. She was also an officer beforehand, and she experienced the level. And see, that's why you kind of got to go to the genesis of what police was meant to do from the beginning. Yeah, they were slave catchers. Let's call it what what I mean. And it's a lot of things from back then that
policing them,
right?
Policing them.
Any runaway slaves, that was their whole point. Yep. They were there to catch them, right? Yep. So it's a lot of stuff, and that's why these questions has to be asked. Because and I will at some point have invite a few officers in here to have a conversation, because I want to be fair. But, some of the stuff is just embedded into the system anyway. Right. And you have to understand, and she had mentioned today with one of her superiors in law enforcement here told her, oh, a pretty lady like yourself shouldn't be here as a police officer. Mm-hmm. You should be at home baking cookies. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Or one time, and now she's 6 foot tall, and she can handle hers. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But she was like, a guy was in a situation, and he called for backup. She came through. She looked at him and was like, laughed or whatever, basically, and was just like, no, I need real backup or something like that, and sent her away. She turned around. All she heard was some scruff on her way back to her car. Heard scruffling, and the guy was tumbling on the ground. she had to go back and help him. Next thing you know, the officer ended up with a brace on his arm, got his arm broke because he ain't want to accept the help from a black woman. You know what I'm saying?
That's that karma for you.
Right. So the true story is that we have to find out, and I'm glad that your uncle, Bishop Jesse J. Scott, asked the question: is there racism within the police force?
So I was, so when I was saying the legalities of it, is like I tell people all the time about the laws. Like even with the 3/5 law, it's stuff in there that they just tweak the words a little bit. That they tweak the words to make it seem a little bit different. But I was actually watching Thurgood Marshall, and he said that even though you have a bias, would you put it to the side? No, that's my bias. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you ask me a question and I know I don't like this person, right, I might say that but in my heart, like my heart is telling me that I don't like this person. Right. So if you're a racist, essentially, you can't have good judgment because that's your opinion. You get what I'm saying? Right. So that once he said that, like, oh, they were saying that he did something in the movie, basically. He was like, would you put your bias? She's like, I will have to because I'm a law-abiding citizen. That is your life. Your life depends on that. You know what I'm saying? That's ingrained in your heart. Right. So you won't put that bias aside because that's what you believe. Like,
implicit biases.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, that blew me away. Like, and I will never forget. I don't know the exact words, but that just blew me away. Like, what's ingrained in them is going to be what they carry around them all the time. Like,
but that goes then back to the root of the issue. And the root of the issue is the home.
Sorry, that made me so hyped, but I just never, I'm not going to ever forget that. Like, that's crazy.
Right. But I mean, I think in every issue that we're going to come up with, we could always be like, what was the parents doing? Mm-hmm. Or where were the parents? You know, because I mean, everything starts at home.
Y'all hear?
Sir.
Can you hear us?
So, can y'all hear me?
John Restino, can you hear us?
But it's just the systems. I feel like we like you
Yeah,
said,
the sound went
complacent.
out.
Oh, I know. I don't hear nothing. I just
Yeah, my wife just called me. She
yeah, it
said the
sounds
sound went
silent.
out.
It's back.
Oh, it's back. Okay, it's
Okay.
back. We're back.
We're here.
Go ahead.
Oh, but I'm saying just depending on the systems. Like, I feel like certain systems that are supposed to just help you, give you a little nudge, people use as a crutch. You know what I mean? And it's like, and even people who are doing well, they still be like, well, I can live here for $12.
Yeah,
and it's
and
just
that's-
like, I'm just
Yeah,
like,
but like, how do you? And that's a perfect point
Like-
you made. Like, you can't
you can't be, you got to keep wanting to grow and
Yeah.
change and like,
listen because the project was never designed for us to be complacent.
Right.
We made it that way.
yeah.
Okay, not black folks made it that way. We made it to where, all right, well, subsidized housing, bet.
But
I'ma
technically,
live here
ghetto
my all life.
a ghetto was not for black people. The
No.
ghetto was for white people.
If
You
I'm
know
not
what I mean?
mistaken,
Well,
I
I'm
believe
just
the
saying,
ghetto came through to like house military. Was that?
like it wasn't. We take stuff like, oh, this is cool, and like you said, so it's really getting down to the root of original. Like even when Dante talked about what policing was or a policeman was, most of the stuff does come from slavery and the control. Even minority means a person who can't govern themselves. So can you not govern yourself? That's why we're considered a minority. Not they changed it from being black to minority because it means the definition for a minority is can't govern yourself
Right.
or they need help. So it's really getting down to like the laws of everything, like, and we kind of play ourselves into thinking that something is actually helping us and is actually hurting us. Like it's okay to get a little bit of help, but the thing is to help and then to move on. Like, you know
So-
what I mean?
Let me ask you, since you're talking about projects.
Yeah.
Talking about
Right.
projects. So give me your thoughts on gentrification.
So, but the thing is, it will be. So I feel like gentrification is only negative for us is because we can't buy into that program. So if we were able to be more proactive, and we could be the people that would be changing our communities, you know what I mean, and buying up those properties that nobody else can come and buy them, you know. So we have these auctions, but we kind of get buy out. I went to the auction and I couldn't find anything like getting bought out because I don't have, you know, big money like that essentially where I can buy, you know, a whole bunch. But then again, we don't really. People who invest, they be having groups of people that come
Yeah,
in
they
together
all
to
come in
buy
with a
stuff.
group.
So
Right.
we need to be getting group economics, like
Right.
getting groups together and being like, yo, you want to change? You don't want the Canadians to buy your property? This house been next to you and your grandma for 20 years. Like, you know what I mean? And you done came up and passed a lot of money. So it's really thinking about financing, thinking about money in a different way. So gentrification could be good for us, like, because if we buy our own property, we can't complain about people buying it up when you get money and you buy whatever you buy. You know what I mean? So people have money. There's a lot of money transferring through people's fingers, I feel like. I'm not saying I always made the best decision with my money, but when I notice something, I'm kind of like, I think about my money in a different way.
Right.
All right, so here we are about at the tail end of our
Yeah.
show. This went pretty quick, but it was
did go
good
fast.
topics, man,
Yeah.
and good stuff. So I like to have, like, you know, all of us kind of like give our last, you know, message that we want to give to the watchers. So we'll start with Kayla over there, Miss
Because
Kayla.
I'm all turned up and I was late. But no, really, I think it is about just talking to more like-minded people like you. And the thing is, I could say for myself, like, I talk a lot. And my mom thinks I'm nuts. But she takes on what I say, and I see the change in her. So you can't think that you're not impacting people because you don't think people are listening. Like, if you talk, you just spark the interest in people and then let them do what they need to do with it. But if you just keep on talking, either they're going to separate themselves from you or they're going to really connect to you and be like, yo, I remember you said this one time. What about that? So it's just sparking a conversation in people and something. And be passionate about what you believe in, I guess. So,
Absolutely, Big Nick.
yeah.
Man, you know, just like Kayla said, man, you got to start getting around people that think like you. You know, be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the main thing. Regardless of what skin color you are, regardless
Right.
of your background, regardless of anything, you'll be shocked to know, you know, some people, you know, they think just like you. You know, they'd be on the same wave path. So I think we all, you know, we all need to get together and we all need to, I don't feel that protest really is constructive because we've turned it into a narrative where now it's the police see that. I think we need to do more of the planning on the background. You know, we need to be able to link up as a community and, like Ezra said, man, just set up an agenda, stick with an agenda, you know, come up with ideas and issues that we need to correct in our own community and go forward with that.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. Big E.
Yeah, I mean, got too much to say. My only thing is just, you know, so often we got to stop waiting until it comes to our doorstep. You know, the reality is we sit back and we keep waiting. It's going to come one day. Something is going to hit you.
Yeah.
It's going to hit your family, whether or you
It's
directly.
the rule of law.
So we got to stop waiting. We got to see each other as family. You know, when one happens to one, it happens to all of us.
That's it.
And again, you know, let's come with that agenda. You know, so that's something that I'm gonna definitely, you know, step up to, and make sure that I begin to connect with folks so we can get that thing rolling.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's it.
Sweet deal.
That's it.
Yeah, we're not exempt from all that is going on. I think that's the part that everybody needs to understand. If it affects, doesn't matter one side of the city, one corner of the city, it can affect all of us. It can hit you at your front door. And I think we have to, and I always try to say this, we have to be more proactive than reactive. We have to make sure that we begin to go and get knowledge, look for knowledge, be a fiend for knowledge. You know what I mean? Get this knowledge, get some of this wisdom, talk to some of these older people who have been through the struggle, talk to some of the people who have been through it, and, you know, gain understanding, get understanding and all that I'm getting. But don't wait too late. Don't wait to care when it's too late or when something happens, because what happens is the more that we look at it that way, the more that we look at life that way, where I'm good, you know, it didn't happen to me or my family or whatever the case is, then that's how that becomes culture. That becomes how more people begin to think, and then you can't wonder why people are not as you know, interested. You know what I mean? So we wrapping it up here. I want to shoot a line out again.
You know,
go ahead.
So just, you know, when you talk about just people being interested and not being overwhelmed and getting frustrated with people that don't catch interest, but I love Kwame Ture, something that he said. It's not the role of the conscious man to teach the unconscious man, but to make the unconscious man aware of their unconscious behavior.
Behaviors.
Right.
So I love that. I think it's really about saying, you know, a lot of times people aren't going to jump on and see the vision that you have or jump on board just then, but just continue taking action, you know, and guess what? Little by little, that ball will begin to roll. And it begin to build, and change will come. So let's continue this effort that we're doing, and shout out to Dante Miles.
Hey, man.
Good show, man.
Hey, and receive them when they do come.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Don't shun them away. Of course, you know, don't be like, oh, you ain't want to show
so.
back way when I started. Right. You know what I mean? No, like we gotta treat them with love and receive them. You know what I'm saying?
And start to include all of these older folks as well.
Right, absolutely.
Because we have to keep in mind when we push our agenda, it's everybody that's going to be involved. It's not just a young crowd.
Right.
And the older folks got a lot more experience than we do. They could school us.
Right, so that's
it.
Absolutely. So I want to shoot another shout out again to Jill Shaw. Again, you know, we applaud what you do, and we're here for, you know, here at Black Reality Unscripted, man. We're here. We're here with you 100%, and y'all check out her page, Jill Shaw, and it's spelled the same way that you would think it's spelled, JILLSHAW, and go to her GoFundMe page. Put something down on there. You know what I mean? Show some love, because at the end of the day, what she's doing is going to affect our city, period. You know what I'm saying? And even if, you know, if we can get just a handful of guns off the streets, at the end of the day, it's the awareness. It's the community finally coming together. We can't talk about the community not coming together if we don't do it. You know what I'm saying? If we don't do it ourselves, we can't. I can't point the finger at another person or another organization and say, oh, well, yeah, they don't do this or they don't do that, and we got to stop being thumb thugs and Facebook warriors on here. You know what I mean? Saying that, you know, oh, you know, pointing the finger and trying to attack people when we're not doing our part. All right. So here I'm Dante Miles. I have my man Ezra Scott. We have our girl over there, Kayla Briggs, Mr. Nicholas Felix Young. Yes, sir. So we glad you guys tuned in. Tune in again next week. It's going to be this Saturday coming up at 5 o'clock sharp. Talk to y'all later.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.
Bye.